Good morning, welcome to CATEX TV. My name is Frank Fortunato. Today is Wednesday, June 11th, 2014. In less than 48 hours, the quadrennial World Cup games are going to begin. Brazil is the host this year at 12 separate locations in the country. Last evening, in a primetime TV address, Brazilian President Dilma Rousseff appealed to Brazilians to support the World Cup. This is a situation that has caused countless protests in Brazil's largest cities and other cities over the cost of billions of dollars spent in sponsoring the event. Brazil is a country seriously divided between haves and have-nots, and the protests have focused on alleged corruption and waste going to spend for soccer stadiums, football stadiums, when in the meantime, poor people do not have access to health care, education systems, or even basic necessities. Ms. Rousseff defended the $11.5 billion spent on the Cup, even though 75% of Brazilians polled say they are convinced that corruption has tinged the extensive public works related to the World Cup. She called on the country to support the World Cup and give the world a good view of a prosperous and modern Brazil. John Charman spoke at a recent Standard & Poor's Rating Services conference in New York, and he in fact finally did say that the increase in alternative capital coming into the reinsurance market has indeed affected underwriting behavior. Charman said that the flow of capital into our business in search of higher returns is inevitable. It has changed underwriting behavior. He went on to say that reinsurers have to play to their strengths by focusing on underwriting and their internal expertise, the elements that allow them to distinguish themselves from their competition. He said the secret of underwriting is to have an embedded knowledge of the underlying risk, to be able to manage exposures and risks. And he added that underwriting discipline is important at this time in the reinsurance business. He said that he believes that the industry is beginning to get to the bottom of a very aggressive pricing cycle. He said you always know when you're getting to the bottom when terms and conditions start to expand. He continued saying that when the business begins to feel it is not being paid adequately for its reinsurance underwriting, it's inevitable that it will step back and that this has begun to happen. Well, from your lips to God's ears, Mr. Charman, it probably has begun to happen for some traditional reinsurers, but it has not begun to happen for a vast body of ILS reinsurers. The EU has ratcheted up a global crackdown on tax avoidance by multinational companies. It's launched an investigation into whether 3 European states were offering improper tax breaks to companies. The European Commission is focusing on the affairs of 3 companies, Apple in Ireland, Starbucks in the Netherlands, and Fiat in Luxembourg. Joaquin Almunia, the EU's competition commissioner, stressed that the investigation was just a startup and the net result could be something more aggressive in terms of pursuing down tax avoidance, because he said in the current context of tight public budgets, it's particularly important that large multinationals pay their fair share. Back at the conference, the Standard & Poor's conference in which John Charman spoke, also Denise Kessler, the chairman and CEO of SCORE, spoke. And he said that the industry is becoming increasingly split into different tiers of reinsurers and that there's little hope for those that find themselves in the lowest tiers. He argued that the significant changes in the industry with the influx of capital are creating a tiering of companies. He said the battles for reinsurers now is to ensure that they are in at least Tier 2. He said Tier 1 companies can essentially meet their clients' demands both qualitatively and quantitatively. Translation, they're big enough. He said that Tier 3 companies, however, quote, should buy a t-shirt that says no future, because he believes that they don't have what it takes to last in this environment. AIG has appointed Peter Hancock as president and CEO. He's going to start on September 1st. He's currently the executive vice president. He's going to succeed Robert Benmosh. Fighters from an Al-Qaeda related splinter group who seized the second largest city of Iraq, Mosul, this week, have now advanced into the oil refinery town of Baji. They've set the police station and courthouse on fire. An estimated 500,000 people have fled Mosul since the Al-Qaeda group took control of the city. And yesterday, about 1,300 Al-Qaeda fighters overran Iraqi security forces and took control of Mosul's airport. In what's being called a political earthquake in the United States, the House Majority Leader Eric Cantor, a Republican, lost yesterday in a primary election to a Tea Party candidate. He lost rather considerably, 56 to 44%, to David Bratt, who's a college professor. Cantor is the number 2 man in the House leadership and has often been thought of as somebody who is going to succeed Speaker of the House John Boehner. Cantor, oddly enough, is one of the people who helped give birth to the Tea Party movement. He's now been devoured by them. And an American comic, Bill Maher, who branded Bermuda, quote, a tax loophole masquerading as a country, has been blasted by David Cash. David Cash is the CEO of Bermuda Business Development Agency, and he has said that Mr. Maher's previous TV program, which was called Politically Incorrect, might also be titled Chronically Ungrateful. Cash continued saying that if Maher had taken the time in the past to thank Bermuda when our insurance and reinsurance businesses paid billions of dollars in American hurricane, drought, and earthquake claims without complaint, or the benefit of tax deductions afforded American insurers, then I would be more willing to pay attention to his ranting. Good for Dave Cash. It's important to respond to these things. That's the news for today. If we have any breaking news, we'll come back and tell you. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.